Democrat. What I really want to know is
There's a group of people.
really, really want to know if Ben Shapiro, excuse me, if he, on his take on Israel, is it on his channel? I know he's, yes, why rockets are raining down on innocent Israelis, both sides for recent violence in Jerusalem. God, I don't know. Which one sounds more interesting? I'm going to go with this one here. This is like an insane take by Ben Shapiro. Of course, American dumb boy. I know his take right. So his take right now is, of course, going to be, well, you see, this is actually the Palestinians' fault because they shouldn't be here in the first place. This is actually Israeli land, and the Israelis are on the right.
The media today, I'm sure, and you have.
And of course, this is not both sides. The media is wrong. This is primarily put on by the Palestinians who are being violent and not and of course are not giving ground and just attacking innocent people.
Seen that there is violence.
You know, completely ignoring the hundreds of civilians killed by Israel. But yeah, let's go on this.
In Jerusalem. Now, the way the media cover this sort of stuff is they always suggest that it's a cycle of violence. Both sides are to blame. This is because the media are ignorant and stupid and have no expectations of humane and decent behavior.
For once, Ben Shapiro makes a point that I agree with. However, in the next minute, he's going to say the dumbest fucking shit in the world. Let's go.
By radicals in the Palestinian community. Now, the vast majority of Palestinians are not people.
What I tell you, the dumbest shit you can imagine. Yes, the media is ignorant, and yes, the media is dumb. But you're wrong, Ben, about the cause.
Presumably, who want to engage in violence and terrorism. But there are a lot of people.
Yes, the violence and terrorism of being upset that they have been removed from their own homes. Yes, yes. Very violent, very terrorist.
In that community who do in fact want to engage in violence and terrorism, and those people tend to occupy the highest rungs of Palestinian governmental structures. Hamas runs at the Gaza Strip. It is an open terrorist group. Islamic Jihad. And
Hamas doesn't quite run the Gaza Strip. That's just where their base of operations are. They're not like the ones who are like holding elections and being like, we are Gaza and shit like that. That's not the case.
And Fatah are the other groups that run Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank. Okay, those groups are terrorist groups. They've been terrorist groups for a very long time.
Again, not all of them, and I don't agree with a lot of their actions on open attacks and non-targeted violence, but you have to understand why they're doing it. And Ben Shapiro, of course, doesn't.
Now, the pretext for all of this is the eviction of some Palestinian families from Sheikh Jarrah, from homes in Sheikh Jarrah. Okay, they're allowed to live elsewhere. They're just not allowed to live in these particular homes because they don't have legal deed to these homes. There's been a string of decisions going all the way back to 1970 by Israeli courts suggesting that people who have the original legal deeds to these homes have the ability to charge rent to the people living in the homes. We'll have it.
So what he's getting at is what we talked about earlier in the stream about where people are just kicking their homes out. This isn't people who have like legal deeds. These are just people who are coming in and saying, this is my house now. Of course, this was the clip of man stealing. This is what he's talking about. Home in Israel. This is what he's talking about.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me?
This is what he's talking. This is what he's saying, that this person owns this home.
My house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one.
So, of course, this is an absolute lie by Ben Shapiro, and it's very, very provable.
Haven't been paying the rent, and so now they're going to be taken out of the homes the same way that if
and the only reason they're saying this is because these people can go in, they can take the home, IDF comes in, kicks the actual occupant out, and then they say, okay, here's the deed, this is yours now. So it's like a post-action, but that's how they're justifying this.
Rent in the United States in an apartment, you get evicted. It's that simple. According to NGO Monitor, the district court case addressed ownership claims of 8 appellants. The court found 3 of the appellants are the children.
Oh, and then just so we know, this is an ongoing court case, which is going to justify the legality of something like this. But I believe that this is being done in an Israeli court. So, you know, they're probably going to uphold what's going on.
Children and grandchildren of residents who acknowledged the ownership of the Israeli organizations in court proceedings in 1982. 4 of the appellants claim to have purchased the properties in 1991 from a man named Ismail, but can note that they have no idea who Ismail is. They can't provide any documentation for this.
Wait, what is this?
The appellants are the children and grandchildren. You get evicted. It's that simple. According to NGO Monitor, the district court case.
NGO Monitor. Now, he doesn't put his sources in the description because he knows he's fucking lying. And he knows... see, there's no evidence down here. He doesn't put his sources down here because he knows if anyone looks at his... he knows if anyone looks at this shit, they're gonna get him. He's gonna get caught, and he's going to learn the hard way that this is not what's actually happening. What is it? NGO Monitor, Israel Home Appeals. Jerusalem District Court upheld in October 2020 Jerusalem Magistrate Court decision requiring a number of Sheikh Jarrah residents to vacate the premises they're living by May 2nd. Following this decision, residents appealed to the Supreme Court. The court has given the two sides until May 6th. The report if they have reached a compromise. Jesus Christ. May 6th. That's like no time. My understanding is typically those could be like a couple months. But these developments have been the source of extensive NGO campaigning, particularly by a Palestinian group, Al-Haq, including submissions to the International Criminal Court and UN officials. Such claims and campaigns distort, obfuscate, what's going on? Legal status of the property. According to the Supreme Court, land in question was owned by Chief Rabbi Hasham Bashi, Avram Ashkenazi, and Chief Rabbi Meir Olbach until the War of Independence in 1940. Yeah, the War of Independence is, of course, the war that Israel, basically Jewish people backed by United States and United Kingdom, went through and claimed Israel after they purchased it in 1875 from its Arab owners. Subsequently, 2 Jewish organizations worked to register the land with the British Mandatory Government in 1946. These properties were registered with Israel authorities. Under these 2 nations, these organizations sold the properties. So they sold the properties to Nala Shimon in 2003. Status of residents, according to 1899. Reaffirmed ability to, in the subsequent cases, as the case in 1810 living on someone's property. Residents living on the land and owned these organizations were required to pay rent to the organizations that own the property. So basically they're saying that they owe rent. That would be like way the fuck outside of statute of limitations, so I would be really surprised. Illegal blending and illegally renting property to others resulted in the current legal. So basically, there is a government that they're saying this was recognized by this other government, but not this government, and it's just governments trying to get involved. How did the district court address the residents' claims of ownership? District Court found that 3 appellants are the children and grandchildren of residents who acknowledge ownership of the Israeli organization in court proceedings in 82. 4 appellants claim to have purchased the properties in 91, 19 years after the properties were registered under the Israeli group from a man named Ishmael. The court notes that appellants never identified Ishmael, nor did they prove that he had indeed purchased... You don't have... Oh my god. Okay, if you can't prove... Okay. Hold on. So I can't really talk to Israeli law. I'm not Israeli. But in the United States, say I were to buy my house, this house is registered with the bank. This house is then with the government. The government can cite historical precedent on all of this, and they, of course, can go through and say, hey, here is where and what I have, and here's kind of, you know, my comings and goings and what's going on with all of this. And they can come through and they can say, yes, here you are. This is what you... of course, are, I don't want to say owning, but this is, of course, your property, And there is a historical context behind all of this, so it can be easily traced and it can be easily like gone through and taken a look at. So basically, it would not be on me if the previous owner bought it from another owner. It would not be on me to provide that documentation. What they're saying here, this is on the residents to provide that documentation, which, if they can't find the documents, I mean, it's tough because those documents might exist and they just might not be giving it to them because the Israeli government has a vested interest in not allowing these people to have a legitimate claim to the property. October 2020, Magistrate Court ruled the residents claimed the property had been promised to them by Jordanian authorities. During the years which Jordan controlled the area, according to that decision, all witnesses were born after 1970s or were very young at the time and testified heard about the Jordanian promise to older relative. The court added that only the document presented proved to allege this Jordan authority gives us guarantee this copy of standard document. This is unsigned. Again, this is a really weird claim. So basically what they're saying is that Jordan, who was controlling a lot of land at the time, said that, hey, this is your home, and then now this new government that was put in place by, effectively, let's be honest, by conquerors, said, no, we disagree. Rejected claims of Sheikh Jarrah residents based on what the court found to be apparently altered Turkish deed in an unauthentic. Again, this is a lot of these are coming from, their sources are coming from the Jewish Jerusalem court, which I'm going to take with a large grain of salt because, again, they have a vested interest, as we saw earlier. In 2020, Magistrate Court noted throughout the deliberations, defendants' claims their counsel were not tenants, but rather held property rights, apparently, as they realized they had not convinced the court. Interesting. So what it sounds like to me is he's trying to lump everything of what's going on into this really, really complicated and nebulous legal case that is probably being handled at the wrong level. And it sounds to me like ICC should be the ones making this decision.
Addressed ownership claims of 8 appellants. The court found 3 of the appellants are the children and grandchildren of residents who acknowledged the ownership of the Israeli organizations in court proceedings in 1982. 4 of the appellants claim to have purchased the properties in 1991 from a man named Ismail, but can note that they have no idea who Ismail is. They can't provide any documentation.
And again, like, okay, this is, say that you were being challenged on the legal status of your home, and someone said, well, when you bought this back in 1991, you need to know exactly who sold you this house, and you need to be able to find them, and you need to be able to prove that they were alive. Like, my mom bought her house back in 91. I don't think, or maybe it was after 91. Anyway, I don't think if she went to go find that person, she could do it. Like, that's a long time to maintain contact with someone who you were in contact with for a little bit when you bought a house.
For this. So literally they're just saying some guy sold me the land and they have no idea who it is and they can't provide any evidence this ever happened.
Okay, so here's a challenge. If I was in a conversation with Ben Shapiro, I would say, okay, who sold you your previous house? Who sold them that? Who sold them that? Who sold them that? I need you to go back 40 years and tell me all the previous owners. And he's going to be like, well, I can't do that. That's not my responsibility. And then I would just like, okay, what's the difference here?
In October 2020, a magistrate court in Israel rejected the residents' claim that the property had been promised to them by the Jordanian authorities during the years in which Jordan controlled the area. According to that particular court decision, all the witnesses were born after 1967 or were very young at the time and testified they heard about the Jordanian promise from an older relative. So not a single person who is currently saying we don't have to pay rent has any sort of legal basis for claiming.
And again, this is false. This would be like saying, okay, say you were given a house in a will. This would be like, if, say, Ben Shapiro was given a house by his wills by his grandparents or something. This would be like him saying, well, I don't actually owe anything on this house. And even though if someone then were to claim, yeah, we actually own this house, so you have to pay us. And he would make the same argument here. What he's doing is just apologia. This is just a fascist apologia for Israel, which is a fascist state, by the way.
They don't have to pay rent. End of story. Okay, so does this mean the Palestinians aren't allowed to live in Sheikh Jarrah or being expelled from? No, Sheikh Jarrah is a majority.
Yes, it does. It does mean that. That's what they're trying to do. They are trying to kick them out. They are trying to kill them.
Arab area. A huge number of Arabs live in East Jerusalem. A huge number of Arabs live in Sheikh Jarrah. Is like 4 houses. So why is that leading to rioting? Because it is well coordinated in advance. Fatah was supposed to hold.
People are rioting. Just so you know, people are rioting because what's happening is they see the writing on the wall. They see this as setting a precedent that will basically make it legal for those people to just walk in and steal their homes. Because that's what happened here. That's the situation. Is people are using nebulous, archaic things with most likely forged documents to say, well, this is my home. And people decided to challenge it in legal court.
Elections. This is the Palestinian Authority armed military wing. They were supposed to hold elections. They didn't hold elections because they knew they were going to lose. So instead, they've decided to ram up.
They didn't hold elections because they knew. Originally scheduled for May 22nd. And then by President Abbas on January 15th, indefinitely postponed it according to decree, and then postponed it on April 29th, announcing the postponement on Palestinian TV said, facing this difficult situation, we decided to postpone the date of holding legislative elections until the participation of Jerusalem and its people is guaranteed. So basically what was happening, let's check the source on this. What's the source on this? Again, you will notice that Ben Shapiro almost never cites his sources. He almost never, shows you what's going on because he knows he's lying. On Friday, postponed planned elections amid a dispute over voting in Israel, annexed East Jerusalem, and divisions in his Fatah party. So, yeah, Israeli annexed. So basically what this is saying is Israeli did go through and just say, hey, East Jerusalem is ours. There's a ton of Arabs there, and we want them gone. But, they're ours, and we're not going to allow you to communicate with them. Parliamentary and July 31st presidential. He blamed Israel for uncertainty about whether it would allow elections to proceed. So basically, Israel is saying, we're not going to... Can I help you? Also, how many people did he say lives in East Jerusalem?
Of Arabs live in East Jerusalem. A huge number of Arabs live in East Jerusalem. A huge number of Arabs live in Sheikh Jarrah. There's like 4 houses. So why is that leading?
So he's saying that 300,000 is a huge number, which it is, but compared to the rest of the Palestinians living in the country, obviously these people's voices deserve to be heard, but there is question on whether or not their votes will be counted. This is just like Donald Trump saying that, hey, we don't want to count these ballots, where this dude is saying, no, we should be counting these ballots. You should allow us to have elections, and Israel's like, do we want that? And this is this is understandable. They can't have a free and fair election, so they're postponing it until they can work out with Israel to allow that to happen. This completely makes sense. Now, I don't think it's some sort of strange power grab. Can I help you? Fucking cat. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some water. You keep people entertained, okay? Be entertained by him. And we're back. I've got water, and the cat left. I think he's hungry. I think that's what's going on. But yeah, so it looks like what they're doing is they're just postponing it because another country is... this doesn't seem like a postponement done to maintain power. This seems like a postponement done that because another country effectively invaded their territory, they are not sure how to proceed.
To rioting because it is well coordinated in advance. Fatah was supposed to hold elections.
Again,
The Palestinian
this
Authority,
is not
armed
the case,
military will.
as we
They were
talked about
supposed to hold
earlier.
elections.
Ben
They didn't
Shapiro
hold
here
elections. They
is
knew they were
actually
going to
just
lose.
lying
So
to you,
instead, they've decided to
as
ram up
Ben
the
Shapiro
level
does
of
with
violence.
basically everything.
So, for example, May 3rd, this is last week, there was a Palestinian terror attack on 2 Israelis, and Fatah posted on its Facebook page, right? Facebook allows this sort of stuff, apparently. Fatah posted on its Facebook page a call to Palestinians to delete video of the incident from their CCTV cameras so that the Palestinian terrorists would not be...
Okay, is that true? May 3 Palestinian terror attack. This should be easily verifiable. So it was a drive-by shooting. This is CCTV footage. So... Okay. 3 students were injured. Shots were fired from a passing car at the Tapa Junction. IDF troops returned. It's so hard to see which vehicle it was. Which vehicle was it? Sorry, I'm trying to like figure out which one it was. Is it this one back here? I can't see anyone who's like reaching out of a vehicle. That one in front ticks off pretty... Cat. Can you not? Please, Jesus. I love you dearly, but oh my god. I will get you food after the segment. Yeah, it's really hard to see. And again, the license plate aren't going to be a definitive answer because people can be driving a different car. The silver SUV pulled up to the bus stop and hit the brakes. Okay, I'm going to reload this, pop the video up, and I'm going to take a look. So it's the silver SUV. They're saying it's this one right here. And of course they're blurring that out, but that looks kind of yellow to me. Which tells me that's not Palestinians. Of course, Palestinian license plates are yellow. Sorry. Israeli license plates are yellow. Palestinians are white and green.
Be caught. Remember, Fatah is the ruling party of Mahmoud Abbas, the so-called moderate. According to
yeah,
the
and
Fatah
he is
movement, quote,
from my understanding, he's pretty moderate. He basically is like, we need to live and coexist together. Like, that's a pretty moderate stance for that region.
People, honored members of our people, we call on you to get rid of the contents that were stored in the security cameras of your homes or your businesses today, and not to transfer any media content among yourselves.
So basically what we saw is of the security camera footage, we can't tell if that was, again, just looking at the vehicle and the license plates, and I know license plates aren't a definitive proof. However, to me, it looked like they were yellow license plates. It did not look like it was Palestinians, but I can't make a judgment of the drivers because you can't see it very well. And that looks like basically what they're doing is they're saying, look, they're going to be using this against us. Don't give them ammunition.
The Facebook page of the Fatah movement also said the Fatah movement Nablus branch emphasized that resistance is a natural right of the Palestinian people against the Zionist arrogance.
Yeah. Everyone has the right to defend themselves. I agree. I really, really, really want Ben Shapiro, who, by the way, last year during all the Black Lives Matter marches, defended those two lawyers who went out and like waving their guns around. BLM lawyer gun waving. I don't remember their names. The St. Louis couple, who of course defended these two fucking Karens and their right to. It was these people though that he defended. Ben Shapiro, the purveyor of justice in America, is gonna make the claim that they don't have the right. Let's check.
Okay, there were 3 Israeli teens wounded in the shooting attack. 1 ended up dying.
I'm so fat.
Brendan, you're not fat. It's the shirt. Look at Nate. His true classic is tight around the chest.
Okay, so that was Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah Party trying to cover for that.
Oh, he's not making the claim. He's leaving it implied. Ooh, ha, ha.
In the week leading up to all of these riots, there were a bunch of TikTok videos that were posted of Palestinians in East Jerusalem beating the hell out of Jews, okay, which caused retaliatory violence by wrong-minded Israelis, Israeli Jews.
Wait.
By in East Jerusalem beating the hell out of Jews, okay, which trying to cover for that. In the week leading up to all of these riots, there were a bunch of TikTok videos that were posted of Palestinians in East Jerusalem beating the hell out of Jews.
Again, I haven't
Okay,
seen
which
these
caused
TikTok
retaliatory
videos.
violence.
The TikTok videos I have seen are of Israeli people beating up Palestinians, but not the other way around.
By wrong-minded Israelis, Israeli Jews.
Yeah, this is like the most dishonest fucking take. Jesus Christ, dude. Like, what are you doing? Like, sitting here like, oh, yeah, well, this is fine. This is great. Fuck you.
But Fatah has been pushing this for a long time. So last week, for example, Fatah put out a video. And this video, literally translated, says, "Oh, self-sacrificing fighter, make sure your bullets hit the target. Hit it, and it's a..."
Is that right? Is that right? I don't want Fatah. I want Fatah. Is this it? No, created April 29th, 2011, no posts yet. I don't know what Facebook page he's talking about unless they deleted it. This is probably from a couple years ago. 2019. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. As far as I'm concerned, this is made
about
up.
shooting Israelis. And this is being put on. These are the beautiful...
Palwatch.org. Palestinian Media Watch. Okay, so he's most likely not getting this from a trusted source. Let's look at this. May 26th? What the fuck? When? May 2020. Okay. May 26, 2021? Defend your homeland, your whole... Yeah, these people, like, okay, I don't think defending your homes and the holy sites, which, by the way, that the Israel would not mind destroying. Is there even a face? I don't... I'm curious. Media bias fact check. PMW. Pal Watch. Let's see if they just have the Pal Watch. Yeah, of course they're not on here. But my my bet, if I were to look at nonprofit Israeli Research Institute, known internationally for its in-depth research society. So this is an Israeli-owned. So obviously this is going to have really biased. Yeah, I'm not trusting this. This seems like a really out here organization. Let me see if they have a who is. Who is? No, I don't want I can. I want who is. It's org. All right, let's see. So it's taken, God. Can I look at anything about the people who are running this? Because this looks, you can generally see who runs things. Is an NGO, Media Watchdog Group. No. Oh, yeah, that sounds wrong. Again, I'm not really 100% on this stuff because, again, I can't find this video. This is only coming from
the beautiful sounds of
How
Fatah
watch.
TV. And this is like Fatah is the governing party in the Palestinian Authority.
I would not be surprised if this wasn't
self-sacrificing fighter, ignite it everywhere.
From this.
So they're openly calling for violence. Make sure the cannon is a fire burning by night. Make sure the Israeli state does not come.
Again, like
It's
that's
beautiful
just
music, right? Really good stuff there.
So when you see those square brackets, that's a implied translation. So that means like say I'm saying, I don't want them to score a goal. That could be me referring to the Denver Broncos. That could be referring to the Chicago Bears. It's an implied thing by translation that are done dishonestly. So again, I don't know. I'd have to. Oh, self-sacrificing fighter caused the outbreak like a volcano. Because the thing is, Ben Shapiro does this, and you can't let him, when was this posted? 2021. Hey, again, Facebook, on Israel fans. You know what? I'm curious. Are they going to link to the actual original Facebook post? See their links. So they have no external links. This is all just linking to their own internal website. Whenever you're looking at a website, that's the number one thing you should look out for. If they're not linking externally to cite their sources, then you can pretty much like take it as a yeah. Again, I can't. I'm
party in the
you
Palestinian
can't
Authority.
verify this outside their website. So as far as I'm
Make sure
concerned,
music,
they're lying.
right? Advisor. He explicitly says, "You will go to paradise if you shoot an oppressor." His name is Mahmoud al-Habash. Okay, and somebody asked, "What is your opinion if I kill an Israeli?" And here's Mahmoud al-Habash. He is the religious advisor to Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority, the dictator, because he hasn't had an election in nearly 2 decades. He says, Muhammad, he'll go to hell because he is an oppressor, because he attacked.
So, again, we don't know the context around this question. All we know is what happens if I will kill him. As far as I know, and as far as I care, they could be asking, what happens if you attack someone who has been attacking Palestinians? What happens if you attack someone inside the Israeli military, Israeli government? Again, this is just dishonest framing by Ben Shapiro without knowing. Also, you notice he's using all these from the same website. This website, like I said, after looking at it, is incredibly biased, and I can't determine if their information is factual. I mean, obviously, this is not a doctored video, but it easily could be that this has been dishonestly clipped, which would lead this to be a non-factual based website. And coming out of Israel, we can it's important to know and it's important to keep in mind that when we're talking about this stuff, a lot of things that come out of Israel and come out of the Middle East, when we're talking about this, they are taken to be heavily sided with Israel. It's important to understand that. It's important to recognize this.
He says, Muhammad, he'll go to hell because he is an oppressor, because he attacks. You'll go to paradise because you are oppressed and because you are defending yourself.
And again, this is a very dishonest clipping. I'm not saying that this person didn't say it. However, I don't know what the actual question was. I can only say it. The only thing I saw of the question is what happens if you kill him. Again, this could be what happens if someone tries to steal your home. What happens if someone tries to break into your home?
Yes, it is not. It is not spontaneous. This is all planned. Okay. Then there's the lie. So that you see riots in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, conflict on the Temple Mount. Right? This is how you normally see it in the New York Times. The way that the New York Times pictures this conflict on the Temple Mount breaks out. Violence breaks out.
Oh, also, and just so we know too, Ben Shapiro does have a vested interest in Israel becoming a country. Not only is Ben Shapiro Jewish, but he is a heavy Zionist. And again, I want to make sure I'm not like making any disparities against someone for their religion. I'm not religious, but if you are, awesome. I don't really care. It's not really my place to care. Cool, do whatever. However, I do have a problem with extreme nationalism, like Ben Shapiro has consistently defended in the past.
On Temple, here's the headline. Hundreds hurt in clashes at Aqsa Mosque as tension rises in Jerusalem. Really, hundreds hurt in clashes, were they? They're just clashes that happen.
They were fucking praying. Oh my god, are you gonna... Oh my fucking god, is he gonna, like, actually say that this wasn't... Oh, you're fucking kidding me. Of course he would. So, like, this is outside, where, like, the IDF basically came in and started attacking people. These are people throwing rocks because they don't have other means to defend themselves. See, they're... Okay, so... These are the IDF attacking a civilian and just beating them. This is fucking what happened last year during the Black Lives Matter protests, and when cops would just come on to people and just start beating them mercilessly and bloody and senseless. Like, this is just what happened. This is the mosque, by the way. There was prayer in session when all this was going on, and the IDF started attacking people. This is the inside of it. Imagine yourself in this situation. You are deep in prayer. You are having a very personal time, a very sacred time, and a invading force comes in and starts shooting. Yeah. This is what Ben Shapiro is talking about. This isn't a clash. This is a fucking domination. This isn't like people fighting back, but they're firing tear gas and stun grenades. And just so you know, tear gas actually is... So this is a violation of international law. Tear gas is not allowed to be used on combatants in wartime. However, again, Israel, like America, doesn't give a fuck. And again, so this is a giant, like, carpet thing. I struggle to find the exact definition, but these spaces here is where someone would sit and pray. And so people just come in here and they sit and they pray and they participate in their daily prayer. So yeah. And then this is rockets being fired from Gaza. But again, Israel has their Iron Dome, and Israel then said, hey, we're going to fire airstrikes which are much more precise than rockets. Now, granted, those airstrikes also cause way more damage. So what those are the less than lethal rifles. It's really hard to see because of how dark it is, but basically that's a 203 millimeter canister round being launched, and it's really important to understand that this is American military tech. Just so you know, this is all technology. This is all equipment and gear and tech that America basically paid for and just gave to Israel. All of the gear is just a different color of any more American standard issue. Yeah. So on par, these individuals have relatively the same gear as U.S. troops, and the Palestinians don't. They're just civilians. Oh yeah, and then that clash at Al-Aqsa was on like the holiest day in Ramadan. So it was like it was like one of the biggest spiritual holidays in the Muslim faith, and the IDF was just like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we went and shot a bunch of people? Yep. And so yeah, no, let's see what Ben Shapiro has to say.
Well, what if I told you that Hamas and Fatah terrorists had used Al-Aqsa as a staging ground in order to ignite violence because they know the media will cover it this way?
I would call you a conspiracy theorist and a fucking dumbass, because that's not what happened. There were people in prayer afterwards. Some of the people who finished their prayer, and because they cycle through people during prayer sessions, like you go to one, it's just like a church here. You go to one, okay, another prayer session. People were outside talking about what to do. They're afraid of losing their homes. They can't participate in their election. The election had to get just because of their, because another government is coming in and trying to govern over them. And they're invading.
It's been a feature of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for literally decades at this point. All of this is pre-planned. This is perfectly obvious. So, for example, here are some pictures. We were told, by the way, it's just a bunch of people peacefully praying inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, here's the thing. I've been up to the temple.
They were. Ben Shapiro is just lying. He knows that this is a lie, but he does this because whoever pays him wants him to do this, and like him himself just wants to play defense for Netanyahu and Israel.
Now, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is open all the time. And the only reason there are any restrictions put on people getting up to the Temple Mount is because the Israeli authorities knew that terrorists were infiltrating the Temple Mount. That is
and some of you are going to say this is insane. Why are you saying this? The only reason restrictions were placed on getting to the Temple Mount is because Israelis hate Muslims and don't want them there. And by restricting access, you are effectively trying to get them to leave.
Is literally the only reason. And so they put up some sort of fencing, and then the Palestinians got mad. So they took down the fencing for 2 days.
Yeah, understandable. Okay, Ben Shapiro would make the same claim that, like, if the U.S. government were to go through and be like, okay, you can't go to, I don't know what I think temple. If you don't know, we're going to put a fence around temple and you can't go to prayer. Ben Shapiro would have the exact opposite reaction to this. Like, Ben Shapiro would be like, this is the greatest intruding on my freedoms and my individual human rights as there's ever have been, and the Biden's America is going too far. Like, that would be his actual response.
And then the Palestinians still got mad. So it turned out it wasn't about the fencing at all. So
oh my God.
You have a bunch of...
God damn it. Okay. My headphones are dead, so we're going to do this the old-fashioned way with the speakers, because Welcome to Isucktopia population. Me. I apologize for nothing. I don't apologize. Fuck you. Alright, are we back on my pebbles? We are back on my pebbles. And we're going to come in here and we're going to go pebble. We're going to go okay.
Because the Israeli authorities knew the
Holy
terrorists were
shit.
infiltrating the Temple Mount. That is literally the only reason. And so they put up some sort of fencing, and then the Palestinians got mad, so they took down the fencing for 2 days. And then the Palestinians still got mad. So it turned out it wasn't about the fencing at all. So you have a bunch of particularly young Arab men who went up into the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they brought with them giant piles of rocks. Because that's what I do. When I go to synagogue, I immediately bring with me things I can throw at the cops.
Okay, so again, there's no context given around this photo. We don't know when this was taken. I have not actually seen this photo. This could easily have been, this could easily have been a planned protest, but there's nothing wrong with planned protests. Or these could have been rocks that they gathered from outside and were cleaning, and they used these rugs to transport. We don't know. We legitimately don't know. All I can tell you right here is he found a photo of someone in Al-Aqsa with rugs on a carpet and their shoes off.
I like to bring guns and fireworks and all sorts of stuff. Here are some pictures of Hamas in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. You can see, just piles of rocks.
And even if they did get here to stage a protest, and who cares? They wouldn't have had to throw in rocks if the IDF didn't show up and start attacking them. I want to be incredibly fucking hyper clear on this. The entire reason anything is escalating right now is 100% on the IDF and Netanyahu.
They just brought piles of rocks. Okay, this is people up on the Temple Mount who are setting fires, lighting fires, really enjoying themselves.
And again, this is just a claim. I've never been to Temple Mount, so I don't know if this is actually how it looks like. Someone who's been there could probably say yes or no. But I would, it's very grainy footage. This could be literally anywhere.
They're on the Temple Mount, supposedly this deeply holy site.
Remember, though, whenever Ben Shapiro does do something like this, does show evidence or proof, it's likely not proving what he's saying. It is just something that he can use to abstract and obfuscate and give him some form of seeming credibility. He's done this countless times. I've gone through his videos numerous times on both my Twitch and my YouTube channel. If you're curious about any of those, ! YouTube in chat. You can find my channel. You can see all the videos I've gone over with him. And he's consistently lied every single time.
What Jews don't do at their holy sites? Okay, no Jews in Israel are using their holy sites for this sort of activity. So far as I'm aware, and if they are, it's criminal under Israeli law.
I don't know if that's a no one is, but yeah, I would agree. That's bad. You shouldn't do that.
Okay, these are people who are holding up Islamic Jihad and Hamas flags on the Temple Mount.
Again, I can't fault these people because of what they're going through. Like, if I was in their situation, I would, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what I would do if I was literally being evicted from my home, being forced out. I don't know how I would react. I guarantee you anyone who is in the United States that wants to defend what Israel's doing, if they were in the same situation, I can't say that they would know how they would react either.
And these are the flags of terrorist groups on the Temple Mount. Here you have a bunch of people who are wearing those green headbands are Hamas headbands. And they're holding up cop.
That's not. So that's a thicker headband. This is a thinner headband. This looks like it's. I mean, it could be. It easily could be. I'll give him that. But again, it's a very blurry photo, and you can't tell.
Copies of the Quran, and some of them are holding up weapons.
Wait, where's the weapons? Is the Quran the weapons? Also, why can't people hold the Quran? Like, yeah, even if it was someone who you could provably identify as 100% without a doubt wearing, who was a part of Hamas, there is no problem with them holding a Quran. This is just propaganda. This is just fear-mongering.
It's good times. Right? It's good times up there on the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Clearly, these are people who are there just for, a little bit of religious scholarship at the end of Ramadan. Now, again, I don't think this represents
We're going to speed fast boy up even faster. He's going to go... we're going to go 1.25.
most of the people in the Palestinian areas who would just like to be left alone and live their lives. I think this represents the militant wing of these corrupt governmental bodies.
Wait. What the fuck? Are you just want to be left alone to live their lives? These are the people he's saying want to be left alone to live their lives. Well, he's also defending the people who are not leaving them alone, not letting them live their lives. He's defending the people who are openly who have openly enacted the world's largest open-air prison, who've enacted a apartheid state, a segregation, who have been assaulting people, who basically holding the Palestinian people to never be able to return to their homes. After the United States and Great Britain, back coalition, came in and kicked them out. So yeah, no, fuck you, Ben.
Terrorist groups. So yesterday, you started to see members of the media who are ignorant and stupid pass around video of people chanting on the Temple Mount, right? These are Palestinians who are chanting on the Temple Mount. And they're like, look at these people resisting Israel. Look at how they're resisting Israel, Israeli oppression. Okay, so here is the video, and then I'll tell you what they're saying.
Yeah, it absolutely is Israeli oppression.
Okay, so you can see in the background the Dome of the Rock. This is again up on the Temple Mount. I've been up there. Okay, this is you have probably 1,000 people who are all chanting.
Wait, has he? I guess I don't know. I don't know Ben's
unison here.
Past.
Young Palestinian men. So what exactly are they chanting? So the media pushed this out. Look at this beautiful active. Here's what they're chanting in Arabic: "Bomb, bomb, Tel Aviv." Now you may have known young Palestinian men. So what exactly are they chanting? Or all chanting Temple Mount? Okay, so you can see in the background.
All right, let's see if that's accurate. Because, let's see, we're gonna test you, Ben. This is the test. Can I Google where Palestinians chanting bomb Tel Aviv on the Temple Mount. So some person on Twitter who, okay, I'm not taking someone on Twitter's word. Newsweek is a more reputable source. No, Jesus Christ, computer. Only Reuters reported the demonstrations. Other outlets. Again, who is this Hongi person? That's probably the person we saw on Twitter. Again, like, this is a person saying what happened. Yeah, I can't tell this if this is like for certain. This just looks to be like this is what one person said on Twitter, and it was taken that way.
This is again up on the camp. Now, you may have noticed that Tel Aviv is not actually quote-unquote occupied territory. Tel Aviv is like the first major city in Israel outside of Jerusalem. So, this is just terror.
Wait a minute, I think it's another tab. Tel Aviv. Well, you may notice that Tel Aviv is not actually occupied territory. Tel Aviv is actually the first major city in Israel. Yeah, so let's go on and call you on that shit. So this dot right here is Tel Aviv. This is where things started, or is it Tel Aviv? Hold on. there is this wonderful map that we've gone over on stream before, actually before on this stream. So I apologize to everyone who's seen this already, but we're gonna go over it. God damn it! I want the big one. Give me the big one. So here is 1947 Jerusalem. Where is map of Israel? Where is Tel Aviv? Tel Aviv is right here. So, okay. Shortly about the Dead. Oh, the Dead Sea is a saltwater sea, by the way. And that's important. So there's Jerusalem. Tel Aviv would be like right in this area. So yeah, I would consider that occupied territory. Nice lie there, Ben Shapiro. What else you got?
Terrorists who are calling for terrorism. That's all. Or terrorist supporters calling
We're
for
gonna go
terrorism.
faster. Jesus
There are a bunch
Christ.
of people who put this out, and then they had to take it down. If not now, put this out.
This is a real B&H customer story. Jack and Barbara, professional wildlife photographers and B&H customers.
And then they had to take it down because they realized that it was promoting terrorism. Then you had video from Al-Aqsa, right? These are the clashes that the New York Times talks about. They heard clashes on the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a very holy site for Palestinians. They're using Al-Aqsa as a staging ground in order to fire fireworks and throw rocks at the Israeli police. They were
Yeah, Israeli police who invaded East Jerusalem, who are an occupying force. Even if they're saying bomb Tel Aviv, yeah, that's bad, but is the Israeli police, the IDF, is actually an invading force. This would be like going into fucking this would be like if, I don't know, say China were to take over Seattle, and people there were being like, oh, well, we don't like this, and Ben Shapiro would be like, well, you see, they're actually saying bomb this place, so I disavow, and I think Seattle is now occupied territory, and China now controls it. That's basically what he's saying.
generating conflict because they know the media are suckers for this stuff, and they know that the media are always willing to blame Israel in any sort of conflict. Doesn't matter. Every statement from the Israeli government has been, we want you to be able to exercise your religious freedom, but you know what you're not allowed to do is go up there and bring rocks into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And
you're not even allowed to go up to Al-Aqsa Mosque. They want to prevent people from going there. That's why it's fucking fenced off, you dumb fuck.
chuck them at the police. But here they were doing, I mean, this is, again, soft bigotry of low expectations, or the full bigotry of no expectation. Here are people using a mosque as a staging ground for terrorism. And they go just firing at the cops.
Wait, how else
you
are they
know-
supposed to
you know
defend
how-
themselves from the police who
you know
have
how
rifles and
Careful
grenade
Israeli police
launchers?
are about not offending Arabs up on the Temple Mount. So when I was up on the Temple Mount, which was in October of 2019, when I went up to the Temple Mount, it was Sukkot, right? So it was one of the last days of Sukkot. It's called Hoshana Rabbah. We go up there. You're not allowed to pray as a Jew openly on the Temple Mount, which, by the way, is an act of actual discrimination. If you're an Arab,
It's not a Jewish holy site, though. If it is a Arab holy site, they are allowed to set those on. This would be like saying, oh, I can't go, as an Arab and pray in a Catholic church. Yeah, of course they don't want you as an Arab praying in a Catholic church.
Arab, you can pray wherever you want up on the Temple Mount. If you're a Jew and you stop and you pray, then Arab guards will rush at you and they will yell at you that you're not allowed to pray up there. So we stopped for just a moment and we were saying prayers from our phones, right? You try to make it look like you're not praying. You say some prayers from your phone. Okay, and then members of the Al-Aqsa Mosque guards run up and start screaming at people. Okay, so people start moving on. And one of the guys in our group.
No, they just probably recognized Ben Shapiro and were like, hey, you get out of here. You fucking get out of here. That's probably what actually happened.
Had brought along with him some branches, some willow branches. One of the ceremonies you do on Hoshana Rabbah is you take the willow branches and you beat them on the ground. Okay, so he did that for like a second. The Mishnah, the Israeli police, not the Arabs, the Israeli police ran up to him and started to arrest him for literally taking some branches and hitting them on the ground. A bunch of Arab women who were up there ran over and started chanting Allahu Akbar because this is ground that is.
I don't actually believe this. Unless he were to produce video evidence of this happening, as far as I'm concerned, this isn't actually what happened. Like, again, this is his story from his life or whatever, but like, still, this doesn't seem like this is what would have gone down. And he would also, this is something Ben Shapiro would totally do, of use and blow a story out of proportion in which he was a part of, to paint another group or individual as the villain.
Holy to them, the Jews can't be up here, etc., etc. Okay, well, the Mishnah went right along with this, right? They moved this all off the Temple Mount. Fine. There are people who are stockpiling rocks and fireworks and weapons up there, and apparently the media think that's totally fine.
I mean, yeah, when they're in an occupied state and they're fighting back against their occupiers. Again, what would you say if someone were to invade the United States or like wherever, because he lives in what, Texas or something? What if someone invaded where he lives? Or no, he lives in, what's the, Music City? Yeah, he moved down to the south. Like, what happens if someone were to come there, like, and he started shooting something, and then I could just come out and say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not your city anymore. Like, that's what he would expect.
Again, the media don't know anything about this conflict, and so they pretend they know something about the conflict, and then they lie to you.
He's right. The media doesn't know anything about this conflict because, as Americans, they don't care. But Ben Shapiro is actively lying to you. He is exaggerating. He's not just exaggerating the truth. He is going along with Israeli state propaganda, and that's what's going on. Like in my mind, there is no way in which he can justify his take here. So what he has to do is he has to obfuscate the truth, and he has to lie about it. So, God, I'm like looking at my camera now, and I look like fucking shit today. But. Yeah, no, Ben Shapiro, like, I'm not even going to finish this video because it's just too much to watch. Jesus fucking Christ.